Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Building Code Buddy Online. Part 1. This video will be a first of a series of videos aimed at helping you understand and navigate the building permit process. The building permit application. So follow along as I walk you through the building permit application. The goal of this Part 1 video is to help you gain a better understanding of the building permit application and to help you submit your application with ease. Throughout the video, I will provide useful tips on a variety of topics related to the building permit application and its contents. First, what is a building permit application and why is it needed? A building permit application is a legal document that is required by the building department for applicants to properly complete and submit to the building department for work requiring building permits. The building permit application is also where the applicant indicates the proposed work requiring a building permit. The building permit application is also used by the building department to determine and calculate building permit fees. The building permit application is also useful to the building department reviewers, so information is corroborated to the submitted documents. Once the building permit application is submitted and processed, the building permit application becomes the permanent record of the property. Therefore, the building permit application, amongst other documents submitted for building permits, are subject to public information through the Public Records Request Act, or as some may know it, the Freedom of Information Act. I must caution you, however, that the submittal of the building permit application is not authorization to start the proposed work. The building permit must first be issued in order to start the work. Furthermore, I must inform you that the agency can issue a stop work notice for work starting without the benefit of a building permit and inspections. Once a stop work notice is issued, it creates project setbacks and unnecessary penalties are then required. On a future video, I will review the building permit process as it relates to clearing stop work notices. Building departments normally have numerous helpful forms and handouts in their permit center, as depicted here. Here is an example of the building permit application we accessed through the building department's website. Note, however, that many building departments have interactive applications that allow you to complete and submit online. Building departments also have the same helpful forms and handouts in their website. In this example, the building department website has, amongst other helpful forms and handouts, the building permit application. Let's take a look. Using the example building permit application, let us review the information. Starting on this block, you will see some basic information. Starting with the date, here you would indicate the date of when the building permit application was submitted. Job address. Here you would indicate the address of where the project or work will take place. In some new construction, there is no known address. Your local building department may have you indicate your parcel number until an address is assigned by the local agency. The local agency will provide you with the parcel number in the event you do not have your parcel number. On this line, you would indicate if the building where the work is proposed has existing fire sprinklers installed, or if the building you are proposing will have fire sprinklers installed. This information helps the building department and/or fire department better guide you through the process and provide you with your project-specific requirements. Many building departments base their fees on the valuation of projects. The valuation notated on this line must include the total value of work, including materials and labor for the proposed work, which includes all electrical, mechanical, and plumbing equipment proposed. You can obtain the valuation from your contractor who is performing the work. Or if you are a owner-builder, meaning you as the homeowner will be doing your own work, you still must provide the valuation of the project. Now let us take a look at occupancy type. In simple terms, the occupancy type is what the existing building's use is, where the proposed work is to take place, or you would indicate what the use of the proposed building will be. Here are a small handful of examples which are usually the most common. Let us review them. As an example, if you were submitting a building permit for a church, a restaurant, or a nightclub, then you would indicate A, assembly, as your occupancy. If you are submitting a building permit for a barbershop, a clinic, or professional services office, then you would indicate B, business, as your occupancy type. If you are submitting a building permit for a school K through 12th grade, then you would indicate E, educational, as your occupancy type. If you are submitting a building permit for a retail store, or a department store, or a clothing store, then you would indicate M, mercantile, as your occupancy type. Building permits submitted for storage sheds, fences, carports, retaining walls, barns, or greenhouses, U, utility, is your occupancy type. These occupancies are some of the most commonly submitted to building departments. On this last example is by far one of the most common occupancy types submitted to building departments. R occupancies. Specifically, single-family dwellings, your typical house, falls in this category. Notice there is a 3 next to the R. The reason for this is that there are other cascading sub-occupancy types under every occupancy. Again, I am simply going over the most common occupancy types submitted for building permits. Here is a useful tip regarding occupancy types. Chapter 3 of the International Building Code contains a list of all occupancy types. Visit your local building department to view the codes and the occupancy types. You may also contact your local building department via email or telephone to obtain this information. In California, you may view the California building codes free of cost at the link shown. Please note that the model code to the California Building Code is the International Building Code. Moving along to the next item, construction type. In very basic terms, construction type is the type of construction materials that will be used to build a structure. The building codes dictate the construction type of materials required for your structure, based on a variety of factors to include the occupancy type of the structure, area of the structure, and the height of the structure proposed. Let us explore the 5 construction types. Type 1 and Type 2 construction types are structures constructed of non-combustible materials such as concrete or masonry. Construction Type 3 are structures containing a mixture of non-combustible or rated exterior walls. Rated exterior walls meaning walls that will have a fire-resistive rating of 1, 2, or 3 hours as an example. Interior walls in Construction Type 3 are allowed to be of any materials, fire-rated or not, such as wood materials. Construction Type 4 are structures containing rated walls and all other non-rated walls allowed by code. Construction Type 5 is the most common type used, and very commonly used for single-family dwelling projects. This construction type permits the usage of wood materials, non-fire rated, which is what most all residential projects are constructed with. On this line, the agency is asking for the square footage of the project. Whether it's an addition, alteration, or new construction, the square footage of the proposed work must be indicated. As an example, if you're remodeling a kitchen, only include the square footage of the kitchen area and not the remainder of the house. On this area, you indicate the number of buildings that are proposed, and if applicable, the number of units, such as in the case where work is proposed in apartment buildings which contain individual dwelling units. Let us take a look at this site plan as an example. The site plan shows one house and a storage shed proposed. Therefore, we would notate 2 for the 2 number of buildings proposed. We just reviewed the first block. Let us move along to the next area. On this area, the building department is asking if the building permit application that is being submitted is to clear a violation, such as in the case where a stop work notice is issued for construction without the benefit of a building permit and inspections. Again, we will cover building permits to clear violations on an upcoming video. In this case, we are not submitting a building permit application to clear a violation. On this next block of information, we will indicate the type of permit or permits that we will be applying for. In this example, we will check off building if we are proposing a structure without utilities. Some examples are storage sheds, covered patios, fences, or retaining walls. If the proposed structure, let's say your storage shed or covered patio, will have lights or outlets, then both building and electrical are checked off. If we were building a new house, chances are we will be checking off building, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, since building a new house normally involves the installation of all those disciplines. If the new house we're proposing will include solar photovoltaic system, then we would check off solar photovoltaic. Again, some agencies may require a separate building permit application for the solar PV equipment. Then there are other permit types, such as altering a commercial space to create or enhance a new business. In this example, you would check off tenant improvement. If you are demolishing a structure, then you would check off demolition. I highly encourage you, however, to contact your local building department for any special paperwork required for demolition permits, such as the submittal of construction waste diversion documents, and to inquire about any agency referrals that may be necessary. Demolition permits oftentimes involve other agencies, such as utility companies and air pollution districts. Here's another useful tip. It is not unusual for local agencies to credit the demolition of structures towards future construction. So check with your local school district if they collect impact fees for new construction in your area, and check with your local building department regarding local impact fee credits that may be applicable. If you're submitting for a mechanical permit, such as the replacement of a forced air unit, oftentimes such work requires special paperwork and testing prior to the final inspection. As an example, in California, energy compliance forms are required to be submitted prior to the permit issuance and/or prior to the permit's final sign-off. Contact your local building department for additional information. Moving along to the description of work, or some may refer to it as scope of work. Here we would indicate a detailed description of work proposed. Please understand that a vague description can create confusion resulting in setbacks during the permit process or inspections. Also remember, this description becomes public information, and when properties sell, the work under the building permit can come into question if the information is vague. Let's take a look at an example vague description. In this example, the description states, building a new house. Can the description use some help? Perhaps. This example shows a description of work that would more accurately depict what is being proposed. Notice the square footages, description of accessory structures, and their locations are also described. Well done. I want to emphasize the importance of a detailed work description. It truly can help you in the long run if questions were to arise during the sale of your property, amongst other reasons. This next block is the owner's information. This area is self-explanatory. However, to reiterate, properly complete all the requested information. Moving on to the next block of information, the applicant's information. This would mean the person who is submitting the building permit application to the building department. Let us take a closer look at what is required. If the property owner is submitting the building permit application, then this would be checked off. Property owners submitting the building permit application and doing the work on their own will have to check off that they will complete the work. Here is a useful tip regarding owner builders doing their own work. Owner builders doing their own work may have to certify through an affidavit that they are indeed conducting their own work. Please check with your local building department for owner builder requirements. Please beware of persons asking you to obtain the building permit as an owner builder to circumvent requirements. I have seen many instances where illegal contractors botch a job or leave with the down payment, leaving the owner builder to deal with the consequences. So make sure you hire licensed individuals. Ask for references and contact those references. Property owners subcontracting the work to licensed contractors will have to indicate that licensed contractors will complete the work. Additionally, workers' compensation information must be notated. Your contractors should provide you with that information. Or, if your contractor or contractors are self-insured, this item is checked off. Or, if the contractor is exempt from workers' comp requirements, then they would have to certify that they are indeed exempt. Here's a useful tip. Be sure that your contractor is licensed, bonded, and insured. If your contractor certifies that they are exempt from workers' compensation insurance, and your contractor has personnel on your project, beware. You may be held liable if one of their personnel gets injured on your project. Check with your local state licensing board. Also check with your local building department for business licensing requirements for contractors working on your project. Later on this video, I will show you how to access your state licensing board to verify licensed contractors' information. Now, if the contractor that you are hiring is the applicant submitting the building permit application, then this area will be checked off. Here's a useful tip. To access your state contractor's licensing board, using a search engine, type the state that you are in, followed by Contractor's State License Board. Once you are there, you can access all sorts of helpful information, such as license check to verify a contractor's license and to see if it's current and active, or if there are any violations, past or current, against the license holder. You may also search for contractors in your area. You can also file complaints against a licensed contractor through the website. Lastly, if an authorized agent of the property owner or the contractor is submitting the building permit application, the agent's information will need to be notated. However, an authorized agent must present a letterhead and ID in order to process and issue the authorized agent the building permit. Check with your local agency for authorized agent requirements. Moving along to the next and final block, architect and engineer's information. This block must be completed If you are submitting building plans and documents created by a licensed architect and/or licensed engineer, check with your local building department for business license requirements for architects and engineers working on your project. Useful tip. Similar to licensed contractors, to access your state engineer's licensing board, using a search engine, type the state that you are in, followed by Board of Professional Engineers. Once you are on the website, you will be able to access all sorts of helpful information, including license information for professional engineers. And in the event that you need to, you may also file complaints against professional engineers. Also, to access your state architect's licensing board, again, using a search engine, type the state that you are in, followed by Board of Architects. This concludes the first video of this series. I hope the information covered on this video has been helpful to you. Stay tuned for upcoming videos to this series, such as types of work exempt from building permits, project examples and required submittal documents, submitting your building permit and what to expect, plan review process and what to expect, internal and external agencies involved for typical projects, the permit issuance and what to expect. Future topics will include I got red tagged, now what? Building department public records requests made simple, to include building inspections, and much more topics. Please like, share, and subscribe to get notified of future videos. I want to thank you for viewing. See you next time.